right. Okay, so we're talking about that category here. The Prophet talk about what is haram and impure. If it is haram and impure, so it fall back into that. They go back to the last slide so you can see what was down there. In that box had alcohol and all the different things there. I didn't put cocaine, but cocaine would have fallen into there, right? LSD, all the others, right? All the other narcotics plus alcohol and things would fall into there. And we talk about alcohol to drink, right? Not, no, we talk about alcohol to rub your hand into, right? Right. So if it falls into this box where it is both haram and najasa, right? Look what the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, right? He warns about these items. And he says there are 10 people who are cursed with regards to Khamr, because this is what Khamr is. Things that fall into this kind of category, really, right? That are going to confuse us and thing, right? One of those people are the person who prepares it. If you're making it in the lab, you are cursed. The Nabi is saying that. If you are the one who they're making it for, then you are cursed. Let's see what kind of categories how this covering, right? What about the one who consumes it, right? So if you're taking it in, right, then that is an issue. Now, I come into this because of the fact that people coming from away when the airport open and they're buying alcohol for their family and thing, even if they are drinking it and transporting it for them, right? Because inborn and thing, right? So look at the categories: the one who prepares it, the one who it is prepared for, the one who consuming it, however they consume it, snorting it, drinking it, whatever, the one who carrying it. So you buy it, right? Your partner buy it and you just carrying it and dropping it off him. Right, exactly. And you just stand up and you hand him it, you part of that. Right. Correct. Next one, the one to whom it is carried to, right? Look at the category. So you don't know where you're escaping here, right? That is how much? Only 5. Going again. The one who pours it. The one who pours the drink. Yeah, he ain't drinking. He outside, he's the bartender and he pour that. He qualifies that. He's the one who's cursed. Right? Right. So the Prophet is specific about these things here because you know a man will say, well, he carrying it, but I see bartender, me doing nothing, me drinking, I not drinker. Right? But they're pouring it, you're calling that category. Again, the one who sells it and consumes its price. So you know when he sell it and he makes some money, taking that money and he buying things here and okay, you're gonna give the orphanage and thing. That ain't helping him, you know. Yeah. Right. The one who buys it, who actually buying it for whatever, themselves or whoever, all these different people fall into that category. And the one for whom it is bought. Right, so look at all the categories here and see if they have any escape with this. And this here we're using, because of how it is there, it was talking about that liquid, but it's working for liquid and solid, right? Some people, they had an argument whether or not oxygen was an intoxicant. No, there was an issue about that, right? It's easy to say, but there are bars in, I believe it's Sweden, right? Where you go to the bar, it's an O2 bar. And you know, like how you come down from the plane, you drop the thing here, and you get a shot of pure oxygen. And you're super. Because you feel invigorated and things. And there was an issue whether or not they consider that to be haram. If that is an intoxicant, because it's like taking coke or speed, you're on a high. Right? So different issues, right? So all these things are intermediate. He had reported it, inshallah. So let's look at what the big picture of what we did tonight. What we put into our mouths will get us closer or further away from Jannah. Right? If we're going in, we're not even talking about coming out. Right? And that's what we look at. And we look specifically in terms of Khamr. And that could be in any form. Right? It could be in solid, it could be in liquid. What about the man who vaping and you inhaling it? And you inhale it willingly. Right? So that is still an issue. People have to say what the contents are. You see, one of the problems here, what people are saying is that even if you buy drugs and you feel is this, they're mixing all sort of stuff in there, you know. It has thinners and all kind of flakes, something they're mashing up and mixing in there, right? To make it, to get a bigger sale now, you know how it is. Right, right? So even if you think what you're doing is there, the other things are harmful, right? So these are some of the places, some of the stuff we get this information from, right? They gave us some of these things there, right? Or a lot of tafsir from Ibn Kathir and Bukhari and Muslim and so on, right? But something to think about a little after, and this comes to your question that we were talking about here, right? Talking about a future issue, medicine that contains haram ingredients, like you were talking about the insulin and whether or not it's coming from the pig or not, right? So drugs which are medicinal, or if they are medicinal and they're being abused, you know, some people take Valium, right, which is that kind of thing, and then mix it with with other things in it, right? Again, a concoction in there and giving you a different type of head, right? So whether it is medicinal drugs or drugs which are being abused, it falls under this here, al-tadawi bil haram. It falls under that category, right? So I'm just going to touch on that category a little bit here before we close, right? So in terms of, let's say it is your case here, where we're talking about that particular brand of insulin that comes from pig and there, whether or not we have to do it, right? This can be consumed. You can take it if it falls under certain things. The first one is you're dealing with a pious Muslim doctor, meaning that he understands Islam, he understands what's Khamr, and that the fact that you shouldn't be having that and thing, and he still prescribes it to you. But for him to prescribe that to you, it means that there's no right life, death, or there's nothing else, right? So in terms of that, then as the case, you know, when you were asking about the exception, this would be like an exception here. Right, intoxicant. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because when you take it, whether you took it in small amounts or large amounts, it will be the same meaning. Yes, that you will be like the guy who will recite the wrong thing. You know, he committed Lee Salah and he read the wrong thing because of that reason. That is why it's off. Yes, correct. So what we saying when it was Khamr, when it was early translation, they were just saying, well, it's just liquid, it's just alcohol. But Khamr really means anything that going to cause you to give you that kind of. Right. Yeah. But it should be intending. Well, you see, it's the intention. Right. So that falls under what we're doing here. Yeah, this is what is going here. So if it is that you're cancer and they prescribe that, so we're looking at who prescribing it, right? So if you have a pious Muslim doctor, that one my name, right? So he knows exactly, and he still prescribes that, then it is allowed, right? Or if we have a non-Muslim doctor who is aware of your situation, he understands that, okay, you're a Muslim and you're not supposed to be taking in haram products, and he still prescribes it, right? But he's fully aware is because of the same reason as the pious one, that he knows that there's nothing else to use except this, right? So in terms of that, that's why those things are there. And there's a last piece of it here, and that there's no other form of medicine that is available. Right, so the condition is there. So if it is that you could use some kind of Chinese medicine or homeopathy or some herbal medicine that could work, then you taking something which is this medicine which has the haram ingredients in it, not allowed. Right? So it is allowed only if there's no other option. Right? So that is the scenario in there. With the exceptions. With the exceptions. With the exceptions, yeah. So that's what we're saying. So, so we look at the big picture, whether or not it's halal or haram, whether it's pure or not pure. Because that thing with alcohol, sanitizer, and that's a big issue for people, right? People have issues with that, right? Whether or not it's good. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. So yes. So there was right. There was a little hadith. There's a conversation between the Nabi and his wife Aisha, right? And it was talking about, he's telling her that my ummah will begin to consume alcohol, right? Those who follow him. And she's saying, but Nabi, how that could be so? Because Allah has clearly stated that we have to avoid that. And the Prophet said, it is because the names of they will change the name from alcohol, right? And scholars talk about, they call it vodka, beer, scotch, whiskey, whatever else. And as the name changes and things, people now will not think of it as like not alcohol, like something else, oh, right? And that is that's the hadith talking about it. Yeah. So, mhm. Mm. So, right. So we ending with this one here. So we end with this. This is our last slide here, right? And this is one that's really something that you see all the time, right? So Jabir reported that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, whoever has faith in Allah and the last day, let him not sit at a table over which wine, when we say wine, we mean Khamr, we mean intoxicants, is being served. So even if you sit down on the table and your partner drinking and you're not drinking, if you believe in Allah on the last day, you are in the wrong place. Right? Right. So now think about it, right? Let me relate this to Kutbah that Maulana gave Friday, right? Basically, he was quoting the hadith. Well, he used a different hadith, but the same thing. We are who we imitate, and we will be judged by our group that we are with. So if we sit down and we are not drinking alcohol, but the other table drinking alcohol, then we are part of that group. And when you are put in that part of that group, when it's on the day of Qiyamah, I quote in what he said in the Qutbah, right? Then when Allah is judging that group, you will fall into that category. Not that you're drinking, but because of this. Right? Right. Because, and I repeat it, let him not sit at a table over which wine is being served, or any Khamr, or any intoxicants. Right? That is the hadith. So, will I have any other questions and things? All I did? All right, alhamdulillah. So, let me close up, inshallah. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad Barak wa sallam. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu. Right, so alhamdulillah that Allah has allowed us to come here, and inshallah we have gained whatever positives there, it was from Allah, and whatever negatives they were from me, inshallah, and my weakness. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad Barak wa sallam. Rabbana taqabbal minna innaka antas samiul alim. Oh Allah, accept this service from us, for indeed you are all hearing, all knowing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.